I've got a roof over my head. I've got a warm place to sleep. Some nights I lie awake counting gifts instead of counting sheep. I've got a heart that can hold love. I've got a mind that can think. There may be times when I lose the light and let my spirit sink, but I can't stay depressed when I remember how I'm blessed. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful I am. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. In a city of strangers, I've got a family of friends. No matter what rocks and brambles fill the way, I know they will stay until the end. I feel a hand holding my hand. It's not a hand you can see, but on the road to the promised land, this hand will shepherd me through delight and despair, holding tight and always there. Modim אנחנו לך. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. It's not that I don't want a lot, or hope for more, or dream of more, but giving thanks for what I've got makes me so much happier than keeping score in a world that can bring pain. I will still take each chance, for I believe that whatever the terrain, our feet can learn to dance. Whatever stone life may sling, we can moan or we can sing. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful I am. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. Truly blessed and duly grateful. I've got a roof over my head. I've got a warm place to sleep. Some nights I lie awake counting gifts instead I've got a heart that can hold love. I've got a mind that can think. There may be times when I lose the light and let my spirit sink, but I can't stay depressed when I remember how I'm blessed. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful I am. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. In a city of strangers, I've got a family of friends.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Temple B'nai Israel, those of us that are here in person and those streaming online. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. May we be blessed with a nice, relaxing, peaceful Shabbat. Let's turn to our neighbors and say Shabbat Shalom to each other. Shabbat Shalom. On page 142, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We continue with the words of Hinei Ma Tov. Hinei Ma Tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 On page 141, 6 lines from the bottom, we continue with one of our newer psalms, that the thunderous voices are like the mighty waters. Let us create that roar of prayer. Mikolot ma'im rabim, adirim mishpereyam. Mikolot ma'im rabim, adirim mishpereyam. Adir ba'marom Adonai, adir ba'marom Adonai, adir ba'marom Adonai, adir ba'marom Adonai. Mikolot ma'im rabim, adirim mishpereyam. Mikolot ma'im rabim, adirim mishpereyam. Try it again. Mikolot ma'im rabim, adirim mishpereyam. Mikolot ma'im rabim, adirim mishpereyam.
We turn back in our prayer books to page 120 and 121. Kabbalat Panim, we welcome Shabbat with the lighting of candles and the sanctification of our Kiddush wine. Let's all rise together as we invite Andy, Cindy, and Cody Groves to come forward to lead us in candles and Kiddush.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As the brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'zayim melech Yisrael Saba.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzon v'shabbat kadsho b'hava u'ratzon helchatanu zikarat lema'aseh v'reshit kivanu tefillah lemikre kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta v'tanu kidashta mikol ha'olim v'shabbat kodeshecha v'yahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
Shabbat shalom. Let's take our seats. On the bottom of page 124, let's continue responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block, young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be for all who enter to a richer and more meaningful life. On page 138 and 139, we'll continue with Lecha Dodi. We'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And on the final verse, we'll rise together and face the door to greet the Sabbath bride.
Shabbat nekavela lefadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekavela shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad yishmianu el meyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo Shemoti feret velitila lecha
Let's remain standing as we turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Please be seated. Let's continue on page 149 in the middle of the page. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Together? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Please rise on page 152 for the Shema. Please be seated. We're on the next page with V'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On page 157 at the top of the page, let's continue responsively. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot together, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. On the next page, Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך
We turn now to page 160 and 161, a prayer that asks God to protect us on our journey through life. Hashkivenu.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu. And understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
On page 162, we continue with Vishamru. On the bottom of page 165. In an envelope marked personal, God addressed me a letter. In an envelope marked personal, I have given my answer. Let's rise together for the Amidah HaTafilah on page 164 through page 170.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zoher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'neman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yehallelu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. We're on page 173 at the top of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 175 in the middle of the page. You are with us in our prayer, our love and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. Together, there may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'ira na'avod. On page 177, in the middle of the page. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us, we mortals that you take note of us? You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'tov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. On page 178, a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav.
This past week was the third of a series called Open Tent, Open Mind, and the women of TBI challenged themselves to expand beyond what four walls can sometimes constrict us towards. And it reminded me what a blessing it is to keep an open mind and to be open, and how easy it is for us to look at the other and close our minds to them. So as we take a few moments for our own silent prayers, consider how open is your mind? What are we open to? What are we closed to? And how do we allow more blessing in by maintaining that open mind? We take a few moments for our own silent prayers.
Our thoughts now turn to our loved ones, members of our community who are in need of healing. Whether they are in need of physical, mental, or spiritual healing, we take them into our hearts at this time of prayer. Let's turn to page 371, in the middle of the page, Misha Berach. We are thinking of and wishing a refuah shlema to Patrick Adamson, Eric Adler, Raymond Douglas Alcorn, David Altner and Sidney Altner, Joe Brickman, Evan Bin, John Conway, Richard Corwin, Mark Edelstein, Mickey Edelstein, Benjamin Edelstein, and Brian Edelstein, Danielle Heyman Feist, Eric Fisk, Sam Friedman, Albert Gart, Bob Gold and Carolyn Gold, Jennifer Gousset, Barbara Green and Buddy Green, Harriet Kaplan, Lori Cattleman, Hank Corin, Wendy Sugarman Krosnoff, Madeline Leone, Kathy Ledoni, Dr. Sonia Linke, Michael Lynch, Bob Mansfeld, Elsa Mikosh, Dolores Munsick, Ruth Poehler, Jane Rifkin and Jess Rifkin, Don Rolander, Liesl Schick, Lee Siegel, Dr. Cindy Steinman, Pete Tanner, Scott Tanner, Fred Truax, and Michael Verub. If you're thinking of someone at this moment for this special prayer of healing, please speak their name as my eyes meet yours. We take these names and all the names that are said out loud or in our hearts at home. We pray for all of their healing as we say,
Mi sheperach imotenu, mekor habracha lavotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This week's Torah portion, Parshat Tetzaveh, we get to take a deep dive into ancient Israelite worship. And it should come as no surprise that in 4,000 years, a lot has changed. And for example, we can look at priestly garb. So we get a description of the attire the priests wore during their service to the Jewish people. Flowing robes, tunics, a lot of linen, a lot of layers, a bejeweled breastplate for the high priest. Not exactly a haberdasher's dream, but it worked for them. It was nice. And I gotta say, looking at myself, looking at the cantor, we don't wear that stuff anymore. Though I do say I think I'd actually look pretty smashing in priestly garb. Maybe one year for Purim, we'll figure it out. Another thing we don't do anymore, animal sacrifice. It's a little gory this week. We get more in Leviticus. In a few weeks, we'll return to this wonderful subject. But we have in this week's Torah portion a little bit of animal sacrifice and a lot of blood. A lot of blood is being thrown everywhere, flung about to sanctify sacred space, even on the high priest and the priests. A little on the right ear, the right thumb, the right big toe. Very unpleasant. I'm glad we did away with that one as well. But there is one thing, 4,000 years, one thing that has remained from the time of ancient Israelite worship to today. The Ner Tamid, the eternal light. And so if we look on our daf, some of you have already got it in front of you, our little handout, we have a little bit about the Ner Tamid, this eternal light. Exodus 27, beginning with verse 20, you shall further instruct the Israelites to bring you clear oil of beaten olives, not for frying, but for lighting, for kindling lamps regularly, the Ner Tamid. Aaron and his sons shall set them up in the tent of meeting outside the curtain, which is over the ark of the pact, the ark of the covenant, to burn from evening to morning before Adonai. It shall be a due, it shall be a service from the Israelites for all time throughout the ages. Just as it was back then, we have it here, this Ner Tamid, this eternal light. A little bit different thinking through the ages, I will say, because there is a thought that it was meant to be a constant light, as in you keep on running to rekindle it all the time. You have to bring the fuel, obviously, each time. Here we have a light switch, right, that we have to change out the battery, I guess, every once in a while, the light bulb, but it still lasts eternally, so to speak. And so we have our eternal light here as they did back then. For us, it is that idea of eternal, the constant light that is shining in our sanctuary. But why? Why do we have the Ner Tamid? We tossed everything else out. No cool priestly threads, no animal sacrifice, that's all gone. No blood being splashed around, we don't have that anymore. But we kept the light. It's less messy. But why? Why just the light? Why is the light so important? Chizkuni, who is a biblical commentator, gives us a practical reason. It's interesting. Well, sometimes think about the commentaries giving us deep philosophical, spiritual, mystical insights. Chizkuni, a little less so. He takes a look at that passage that we just read, the bring to you, in order that you'll be able to do what? To see. Inside the tabernacle, Moses, it's dark. You're going to trip over something. How's that going to look? The priests have to see what they're doing. It's a big tent that's enclosed, and so you can't see unless there's a light. So when you enter and when you leave, you need a light. Okay, that's nice, it's straightforward, but maybe we can dig a little deeper and find another reason for it. Our next passage, Shnei Luchot HaBrit, literally means the two tablets of the covenant. It's a reference to the Ten Commandments. The author, that was the title of his book. He says, the Torah here indicates that we will never be without the eternal light, even though the temple may be in ruins due to our many sins. Okay, a little theology here, a little back step. The destruction of the temple in Jerusalem was a traumatic moment for the Israelites. They thought God's presence had left them. God's house was destroyed. And even further, they thought they brought this upon themselves through their actions. So when it did happen, it was a very upsetting time, catastrophic time for them emotionally and spiritually, and they had to rebuild. Right? They had to rebuild not the temple itself, but to rebuild the very foundations of their faith. Judaism evolves, changes. Prayer, learning, the performance of good deeds uplifts and recreates a people that would go on into history from the ashes of the destruction of the temple. And we have suffered many moments as a people of catastrophe, of trauma. And here the author says, in these moments of deep darkness, the eternal light in there to me reminds us there is still light and there is still hope, and that we are never at a time when God has forsaken us, where God is gone from our lives. That light represents the divine presence that is always with us in our times of communal doubt, communal trauma, and personal trauma, personal darkness, loneliness, fear, anxiety. When we look up at the Ner Tamid, we remind ourselves that yes, God is with us. God remains a constant presence in our lives, even in those moments of pain, of doubt, of despair. Our next commentator, Tikkunei Zohar, it's a commentary, a mystical commentary. It says, to light the eternal flame, this is surely the light of the divine, the light that shines within the soul of every person. A beautiful mystical idea that the Ner Tamid is about God's light, yes, but not God's light around us, surrounding us, embracing us, but God's light within us. The divine spark that God implants within all of us. And that spark that we have to nurture into that flame that lights up our lives and the lives of all those around us through the way we behave, the way we act in the world. And that's why we have this final piece over here, Iturei Torah, Every Jew must light the Ner Tamid in their own heart. It's our internal light that we have to keep burning. It's the light that has to keep shining within us that can then help us face that world that can so often feel dark, can often feel lonely and despairing. We have to kindle that light through our actions, through our words, through how we treat each other. And when that light continues to shine forth from us, it creates a better world for us all. And so that Ner Tamid, it's a constant reminder, quite literally a constant reminder of our obligation to go out there in the world and make it a better place through our actions, to keep the fuel, the fire burning, the motivation, even when times might feel dark and despairing and hopeless. We do not despair because we know that light is within us, that light is surrounding us, that light is embracing us. And it's our job to share that with the world and to continue to build that world of peace and love. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Let's turn to page 586 as we rise together for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'ol, la'tekedu la'liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'nemar v'haya Adonai, Lemelech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
Please be seated. We're on page 594. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be and oh to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those of our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We are in the Shloshim period for the memory of Sheila Buckwalter, mother to Rick, partner Rosemary, Sherry Stiepel, and Todd Buckwalter, grandmother to Elizabeth, Melissa, Jason, Ashley, and Brandon. We think of those who passed away during this last year. Helen Roth, Ruth Jean Oberlander, Mark Enfinger, Alan Beer, Judy Guy Strickland, Carolee Pizzuti, Elaine Miller, Ethan Perry, Judy Fine, Beverly Rosen, Adele Daniels, Robert Pizzuti, Lily Singer, Shelley Foreman, Myron Pulfrey, Robert Sheldon, Beatty Rosenbaum Madnick, Shirley Botkin, Jack Moss, Linda Fine, Sid Bolin, Joan Keller, Leo Weintraub, Nina Stegg, Janet White, Phyllis Krause, and Phyllis Allman. We're observing the yurtzeit this week for J. Maurice Bell, Fanny Bernstein, Anna Bloom, Harold Book, Ida Brodney, Florence Broida, Jack Charles, Dorothea Cochran, Herman Drickman, Ralph Butch Dutcher, Marilyn Fairstein, Jack Feinberg, Albert Fox, Harvey Ginsberg, Milton Goldbacher, Adam B. Goldberg, Jacob J. Goldberg, Donald Gross, Fanny Horowitz, Molly Katz, Walter Kennedy, E. Philip Levine, Harry Maslov, Martin Morin, Florence Pasternak, Charles I. Rosenthal, June Roth, Merle Nicole Ryan, Rose F. Sargowitz, Murray Schuster, Isidore Stein, John Vecchioli, Dora Weintraub, Helen Weiss, Karen L. Zeleny, and Alex L. Zeisman. If you are observing a yurtzeit or saying Kaddish for any reason and have a name to share, please speak their name out loud. Let's rise together on 598, Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Together, Yitgadal, V'yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, B'gala v'zman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam l'almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudesha b'rechu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushvechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to Israel, and to the entire world. Together we say Amen. Please be seated. It's my pleasure to invite up to the bima for a few synagogue announcements our co-president, Denise Kirschbaum.
Shabbat Shalom. The most beautiful things in the world can't be seen or even touched. They are felt with your own heart. Beautiful, beautiful thing to think about. Thank you, Rabbi, for your words, especially about the Ner Tamid. Thank you, Cantor, for your lovely voice. And Maria, thank you, as always, for your accompaniment. And Heather, who's doing the live streaming for all of you, thank you so much for being here so regularly. And thank you always to Al, Manny, and Sonia for keeping us together. In the spirit of socially getting together, TBI is inviting you and your families to a multi-generational tea and tequila. Sounds good to me. Tea and tequila on Sunday, February 20th at 11 o'clock here in our TBI courtyard. We're going to be having tea, tequila, sunrise cocktails, and light bites. Bring your parents, grandparents, in fact, bring your whole mishpacha. Enjoy. RSVP to the temple office. WTBI invites our women for a Galentine Day celebration celebrating friendship. Spend an evening with some of your old friends, make some new friends. Dinner's going to be at Johnny's Italian Restaurant in Clearwater on State Route 590 at 6:30 p.m. I don't see the date on here, but I believe it's the third Wednesday. Is that correct? Okay. RSVP to Andrea Feldman. Don't forget to read about all the going-ons here at Temple in your e-blast. Our drive-through food festival is coming up February 27th. We're going to be really, really busy that day. So make sure you come at your assigned time. Somebody was asking me, why do we have to come at an assigned time? Well, there will be about 400 cars pulling up, and if everybody came at the same time, we'd have a real problem. So please try to come at your assigned time so that your food can be ready, kept cold, and healthy and safe for you. A reminder, keep up with all of the latest by going on your e-blast, scroll all the way down to the bottom so you don't miss anything. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
A quick plug that 2 Shabbats from now, we are going to be joined by many of the B'nai Mitzvah students who have become B'nai Mitzvah over the past 2 years, so in a different climate. They will be on our bima helping to lead the service, and for some of them, leading from the bima for the first time because their bar bat mitzvah did not happen right here. So nice opportunity to be led by our young people and welcome them back to their bima. Please join us or join us online.
Sounds good to me. Let's all rise together for a little motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Nice service. Well done.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.